That's,
Let's try
that was
that.
a good warm up.
Yeah.
We just did an hour-long show.
Yeah.
I forgot to hit the live button. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever or whenever you may be. This is the overnight. I am Dean Foss. Joining me tonight is Baron.
Hello, how's it going?
We're doing pretty good, hopefully. Night Shaft.
Good morning. Crisp 4 a.m. here on the eastern side of the country.
So tonight we're going to talk about. I put homesteading, which it's not quite homesteading, but more if you're just outside the city or in the city, things you can do to kind of supplement um, your diet. To be a little more self sufficient. If you're out in the country, you can have acreage and cattle or grow over whatever you want. But the closer to the city or town you get, the ordinances change. You could end up with less property or in an apartment, but there's still stuff you can do. So I thought we'd look at it kind of from that aspect where you don't have, and maybe you have a 16th of an acre, or you're in an apartment. There's still stuff you can do that will give you some. You might not be completely self-sufficient, but it'll move you that way where you're not as dependent on the food chain. Which if that breaks down, whether it's from natural disaster or social upheaval, um, you build in a little bit of protection. And so I thought we'd maybe look at how we each are kind of approaching this, where, I tend to look at it more the natural disaster side. Now, I live in Washington State and we're in an earthquake zone. So we could have, an 8, 9.0 earthquake that'll take down, the power grid or, the supply chain. And so I want to be able to weather that time, be able to feed my family. And so I know Shafty kind of comes at it more as a prepper. So why don't you talk about a little bit about that, how you see it?
Yeah. So, I guess at the end of the day, when somebody is preparing, all they're really doing is stockpiling material resources, um, for in case you can't get those resources. And there's a bunch of different reasons to do that. Um, Most commonly, it's natural disasters. Like, you live in an earthquake area, I live in the tornado alley. We get wicked storms that'll knock out power for a week or two sometimes. Or even financially, with 10% food inflation this year, you save a lot of money by growing a lot of your own stuff. And I think the more that you can be independent from the supply chain and the system, the better off you'll be, regardless of what the situation is. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm having deja vu. You guys having deja vu?
To what?
Oh, I was just making a joke because we thought we went live.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's
So
like
we're
we've had
redoing
this
it again.
conversation.
But I currently, because I was messed up last year, I haven't grown anything this year. But I was forced to spend money and buy dry food that'll last 25 years. But Yeah.
And
Growing your own stuff is way more affordable.
yeah, and for a lot of people who can't or don't have the space to garden, all they really can do is put food away. And that's still preparedness, even if they're not, growing it themselves. I think, like we have a third of an acre. I'm in the suburbs of a small city, so our ordinances are pretty loose. So, like we have chickens in our backyard, and we've got the raised boxes, and we have carrots planted in pots, and potatoes in big giant vases. And I mean, you can make stuff fit if you have a little bit of land.
Yeah,
But
that's what I was gonna kind of go over that. When you're limited on space, you can still, you know, um, when my son was younger, we would do a garden. When he got older, we kind of stopped doing it, and then once my daughter gets a little older, we'll start doing it again. But we've done it different ways. Where I've built just a 3 foot by 3 foot uh, planter box. Kind of, I guess it'd be a raised garden bed, but not real small, and you can grow quite a bit in that
yeah,
little bit of space. There's let me there's like wall planters that you can get. Let's see if that's the right.
yeah, anything you can grow flowers in, you can grow food in.
Yeah, this is a homemade one, and it goes on the wall. Um, that's not the one I meant to show, but and that's what I've done also. The last time we grew vegetables, I just had some long um, planter boxes. You know, to see if this is the one I wanted. Nope, I don't have these labeled.
Uh,
So that's for later for when we talk about composting.
yeah, I had some
Um,
pictures on my computer, but I had to bail out from
okay,
that.
yeah, like this. I had a friend that did this last year. He didn't have this one specifically, but it was a unit that went up against your wall, so it moved you vertically, so you didn't have to take up square footage. He didn't plant this year, so I couldn't get any pictures from him of his. But like this is just an example one where it's the size of a door, but you can see there's quite a bit growing just on that. And there's, like I said, there's bigger ones which are his is, I think he had total, it was probably about 8 feet across, and 6 8 feet tall, and that's quite a bit of stuff you can grow, and a good variety, onions, lettuce, for anything that kind of a shorter root system would be good for these. Anything with a root vegetable where you need more dirt, you need something a little deeper. um,
See, and something like that would be perfect if you lived in like an apartment and you just had like a little patio or a little balcony. You get a couple of those and then put some tomatoes in some hanging pots, and you'd be better off than a lot of people.
yeah, that's what, like I said, I had these stop screen share. um, planter boxes that were probably 3 feet long, I think. And I can't remember, 4 or 5 of them. And we grew, onions, I think peas, um, lettuce, a bunch of different stuff, even carrots, but the carrots ended up being real short because they were only, about that deep.
Yeah.
And, if you've got sun, then you can grow, just about anything on your little patio. Um,
As long as you can keep the squirrels away. I've had a hard time figuring that one out.
yeah, if you're in an apartment, you probably
Uh,
have less of a squirrel problem.
oh, they're horrible
You,
in the suburbs. It's great because there's food everywhere, but Those shits get in my garden all the time.
I get them in the bird feeder, but I don't know, I had to actually fence off the bird feeder because the dog kept killing them.
My neighbor had a squirrel infestation in his attic. He was using rat traps.
Wow. Yeah,
Squirrels are a little bit more robust than a rat, so it didn't work out very well for him.
Pins them up. You can go get them.
To address moo, you can grow. Let me share another screen. Let me get the right screen. This kind of also, if you're in an apartment and you don't have sun, you can do
grow lamps.
Yeah, that's what I've got. If I can find the right tab,
you can get one of those miniature greenhouses and get a grow lamp.
Basically, like you can do it yourself, like you're growing weed.
Yeah.
Grow lights, or where the hell did it go? Is this it? There we go. The arrow gardens. We have one of these, and your initial cost will be kind of expensive. They're about $130 for this size. There's a half size one they make now, like $50. But it does work. You can use their pods. I think there's off-ground pods you can buy, and it produces a lot of stuff. It keeps growing and growing and growing. My wife actually uses it now to grow starters. So in the early spring, for flowers, she'll do it in the there's a little shelf over the dryer and washing machine, and that's where it sits. So she'll do her starters there and get them ready for when the weather gets warm. So this is something that you can do anywhere. You don't need a lot of room, and it's only probably about that big. So basically, it's a miniature hydroponic.
It's pretty cool.
And then the little lamp on the top is adjustable, so as your plants grow, you can raise it up, and it works really well. I was surprised at how well it worked.
How much does that thing run?
About $130 for kind of the more base model ones.
It looks like something that should be on a spaceship, doesn't it?
And they've been around for 20 years at least, 30 years. So it's an established company too. So you should be able to get, if you want to buy their pods, you can, or you could just use it to grow your own seeds with it. You're limited in your footprint, but you can grow something. And it does a good job.
I will say too, blackberries do pretty good in shady areas. Like if you have a fence line or like a side of a house you can plant them against, those usually do pretty well in the shade.
You just have to, with blackberries, you have to be careful. It's like bamboo. Once you plant it, if you don't keep, if you don't watch it, it'll take over. And
you're
then
gonna like nuke that area to get rid of them.
It is really hard if you want to get rid of them. My grandfather grew them, Cascade blackberries, and he put them over an arbor, or not an arbor, but basically grew them kind of the same way they grow grapes. It was over a little. He had a string run, and then they went over the string. But you have to stay on top of it, otherwise they go wild, and it's really hard to stop them once they get going.
Yeah, I have them planted all outside the one perimeter of my fenced-in backyard, which they're outside in the alleyway. But that's nice because that strip of dirt's only like 24 inches wide, and it's about 20 feet long, and I just have that filled up, and they can't spread anywhere.
Did you know that blackberries are not actually berries?
They're tasty, is what they are.
They are.
Yeah, it's kind of because the seeds are on the outside.
Yep. Same with strawberries and
Blueberries,
yeah.
snozberries. I don't know if painting a surface, a mirror might work because you're basically it'd be like direct sunlight because it's reflecting the entire spectrum. I don't know if painting a surface would give you the same effect.
I don't know. I've never got a sunburn from a wall, but I have got a sunburn from
Shoot.
water. You're out fishing
you
and
can get
the
UV
sun's
light
feeding
bulbs.
off the water. So a mirror might work.
But yeah,
You get like a big like floor cleaner.
yeah, you can get, as Shefty was saying, a UV bulb. That's kind of like the Arrow Garden. That's basically what it is water in the bottom with some nutrients and then a grow light on top. And you can, it's stuff you can do yourself if you're a little bit handy. But if weed smokers can do it, you can do it.
Yeah, no kidding. If they can figure out how to grow weed in a closet, you can't too.
DEA bust down your door because you're using too much power growing tomatoes.
That's something my wife said she was a little worried about that because the light will come on and off. It's set to a cycle to help the plant grow. So you'll see the light come on at odd times. And she said she was a little worried. The neighbors thought we're growing weed.
I have had that happen once. A cop knocked on my door because I turned my back light on. And it was suspicious. It's like, what?
We don't turn lights on around here, son.
Why did you turn your back light on? Because I went outside? Why did you go outside? My dog needed it out. Can I see the dog? What the hell's going on right now? It was ridiculous.
That's a couple months of wasted property tax.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. And I guess the biggest point to being agricultural in like a suburban setting or even an urban setting isn't necessarily the fact that you're gonna grow a bunch of food, because unless you have quite a sizable piece of land, you're never gonna grow enough food to completely supplement what you could get at the store. The important thing, I think, are the skill sets of knowing how to grow plants and how to care for plants. Because I think there's a lot of people that have like those survival seed vaults and they've never gardened a day in their life, and their plan is to just do it once they have to.
Yeah, it's good to practice.
Around and be successful. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like people that buy a gun and never have shot it. They're like, oh, I'll figure it out when I need to use it. It's like, okay, good luck with that.
Yeah, exactly. And the biggest thing is, learning how to plant and when to plant, and how to steward your crops. And I don't know, if you can get good at that beforehand, you'd be better off in a worse situation.
Yeah, you want to make all your mistakes when it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think cost-wise, if you can balance your cost and your time, the more time you can devote to it, you can bring your cost down. If you don't have the time, then you can go in like with the Arrow Garden, which is a little more cost, a little less time. But if you can, have time to tend your garden yourself, you can bring your cost down. And you're not going to grow, you probably won't in an apartment or, real small planter. You won't grow enough to to can, but you'll grow enough for you to eat. You'll have something to eat right then, and then the next day, as long as that plant's growing, it'll give you something to eat.
That little planter will produce all year long, which is important if you live somewhere like the Pacific Northwest where your grow season's very short.
Yeah. And you can compost too, for your garden. That's what some of these other screens, which
I know someone that has an edible composter.
Ugh, yuck.
they like his
Chickens.
mom.
Chickens.
Oh, yep, that's wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Give them all the scraps, and then you can eat them
If
when
you
they're...
have a little bit of land back there, chicken.
Yeah, well, I was going to get to that in a minute, to cover kind of proteins, but let's see if this is the right one. So, I mean, little composters can come in any size. This is a small one for an apartment, so you can do a little bit of composting if you have a small garden, a planter box. You can be composting. I've never composted actually. So I haven't used them, so I don't know how well they work, but there's different sizes available, from very small to hopefully very large, if I can get the right one.
Yeah, I've never used one that small.
There's ones like this, which are drums, and you turn them, and that helps churn up your compost. And then there's other ones that are about trash can size that you just have to kind of stir up on your own. And they usually will have like a little door on the bottom for your finished compost to come out, so you can access that. Or you can just build your own. You just need a space for your stuff to rot, basically. And it turns into organic material, which is great for your garden. Do you compost, Shafty?
Yeah, I've got just a compost pile. I will say though, if you have close neighbors, they might complain just because that can get pretty smelly. But with the chickens, they produce a lot of nitrogen in their droppings, so their shit's actually really good for the soil. So I usually just do I'll take all the leaves that I rake up in the fall, and I make a big pile. And then every couple weeks we move the chicken coop out and we scrape all the droppings out and we put them on top, and then we'll throw food scraps in there, and then we just kind of keep layering it. And then every spring when we plant our nest boxes, I do about a third of them full of that compost, and the plants seem to like it.
We have a community compost service where I live, and you bring in your compost, and then you can take out a load of processed compost, and everyone contributes.
That's cool.
That's pretty cool.
We just have like at the dump, you can take your leaves or wood or stuff like that, and then they chip them up and sell them.
Yep.
But it's free to dump them. And there's
buy it back.
There's some places like where I used to live, the dump would do leaf exchange, where you can take bags of leaves, and then anybody that wanted leaves for composting could come and take them. So it worked out for everybody.
Yeah, I don't have anything like that around here.
Yeah, if you're going to have that in your apartment, though, you might want fly strips.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't, like I said, I haven't tried them. And some of them, they say there's no odor, but,
I believe it. But as soon as you open it to
Well,
put
they
more
say that about
in,
the duck too.
right?
That thing stinks.
But yeah, flies seem to find a way.
Yeah. So if you're closer into town or in town, producing your own protein will probably be more of a problem, and that depends heavily on your ordinance. I can't remember what ours is here. I'm technically in town, but where our town is right next to what's considered a larger town, even though it's not that large a town. Um, and I got accused of having chickens, which I don't have any chickens. Somebody said they looked over the fence and I had chickens, but I don't have chickens. I would love to have goats, but just because they're funny. So,
Wait, so somebody tattletaled on you?
yeah, I don't know.
Uh,
Well, they got the wrong house, is what it was. Because you could smell somebody had chickens. You could smell the ammonia,
yeah.
but it wasn't us. Um, why don't you talk a little bit about how you have your chicken set up, Chaffee?
Okay. Well, where I live, you can have up to 5 hens. And the only stipulation is they have to be in an enclosed area and they have to have a nest box, which that's pretty easy. My fence or my yard's fenced in, and then you can get coops that are like big enough for up to even 12 or 15 of them at like Tractor Supply or Big R or Lowe's, stores like that, and they're only $100 to $200. And you can build a nice coop box that you can lock them in if you don't have space. Or if you do have space, they just make good nest boxes to go collect eggs. So cost of ownership, if you get 5 hens and a coop, is about $300. But they start paying for themselves pretty quick. Like we get 4 to 5 eggs a day, which is 45 grams of protein a day, which is enough. Not enough protein for a family of 4 on a daily basis, but a good supplement to your rice and your beans and your calories that you stock up that aren't necessarily nutritious. So we find, I think when I did the math, that we actually net $13 worth of value a month from having them, as opposed to not having them now that they're set up and they're producing. So they pay for their own feed, they pay for their own maintenance, and you get a reliable source of protein. And they usually lay about an egg a day for 4 or 5 years, and then you usually have to switch them out. So you definitely get your money's value from getting them. It's just you have to know how many you can have and what their storage laws are, and you have to learn how to clip wings, which isn't hard, but I don't know, some people don't like doing it.
Do you have a rooster
And
too,
then
or
the
just
other,
hens?
no, they specify just hens, but I can
Okay.
get fertilized eggs from our other place, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
There's about
Well,
90 chickens up there.
I was just curious because I've heard that some chickens prefer to have that rooster. It makes them more comfortable. But
Yeah.
I've never had chickens, so I was just curious.
Can you get a neutered
We have
rooster?
one hen that kind of does that role, but can you get a what?
Neutered rooster.
No, because they're still super loud. The biggest thing about the roosters is they're too loud. If you've ever been around a farm, they don't, they don't crow when the sun comes up. They start crowing at like 4 o'clock in the morning, and they keep doing it till about 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah, that would get
And that's
annoying
the biggest thing that.
for the neighbors.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The other thing that you can do is you can also have meat rabbits, and those require very little space, and they're very efficient protein-wise. You can have. I don't think there's any limit on meat rabbits. At least not where I live. And you can have like a hutch, and you could have 10 or 15 rabbits in there, and they reproduce fast enough that you could have a not a like a total supply of protein for the whole year, but quite a bit too.
Yeah, we
So
had
that's
rabbits
another. If you can't have
as
chickens, that's
pets.
a good deal.
We had rabbits as pets when I was a kid in a hutch, and it doesn't take up that much space. It was probably 4, 5 feet across, and I was a kid, so it seemed like 10 feet tall. Um,
Yeah,
you just have to be careful. Something
yeah.
got into it and then ate the rabbits.
That's a good point. You ever had any problem with? Do you have predators?
Like there's raccoons and possums and like feral cats around, but most of them actually won't mess with a chicken because they're pretty large, actually. Usually, what gets after chickens are like hawks or owls, are the big ones that, like over at our farm that we deal with. It's not usually the four-legged ones.
So, Andrew wants to know: do you wash your eggs or just brush them?
Yeah, I wash them. And then the cool thing about eggs is if you can get them before they're refrigerated, which you can basically only do if they come out of your backyard. If you clean those eggs and you dip them in mineral oil, they will keep for 6 months in a basement without refrigeration.
Yeah, that's when you buy
But
eggs
once you
from the
refrigerate,
grocery store
refrigerate.
that are processed from a farm. Um, it it takes the coat. There's a coating on the eggs, and it thins the shell a little bit, and that's what reduces their shelf life. That's why you see like in Africa, I've heard people talk about this before, but in Africa they don't refrigerate their eggs because they're kind of more like shafties, where they still have all that
Yeah, and when you get
natural
a buttload
protection
of
on
them,
it.
yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, all you're basically doing with the mineral oil is sealing up the shell so oxygen can't absorb in, and then yeah, they'll keep longer in like a root cellar like that than they will in a fridge by a factor of three probably. And for like disaster preparedness or emergency preparedness, if you're planning on not having power, a supply of protein that you don't have to refrigerate is a big deal.
And you could also do ducks, because duck eggs are pretty much just like a chicken egg, just larger, thicker shell. Um, I've bought them from the store. I haven't had you know one from like the farmer market or anything like that, and they're just basically like a larger chicken egg. They taste this pretty much the same. I thought. I don't know if you guys had them before.
I've had duck. Never had a duck egg.
Yeah, we don't eat the eggs either. We keep them for meat. We actually feed the duck eggs to the chickens.
But
Every now and then, like, we'll keep a couple of them just because they're good for baking, but we turn that into food for other things.
yeah, I had a buddy who used to make duck jerky. It was pretty good.
And
Yeah, they're pretty. They can be pretty tasty if you cook.
so you could also do if your ordinance permits goats for milk. They take up a lot less space than a cow will, and I don't think I've ever had goat's milk. I meant to try it so I could talk about it in the chat, but um, it's nutritious and they drink it around the world. If you're lactose intolerant, um, some people can do goat's milk instead. Do you have goats?
And no, well, I don't here. I mean, we have a hog and cattle farm that's got goats, but I don't keep them at
Uh,
my house. The thing about getting like a goat though, or like a potbelly pig, is a lot of those. If it's just one, you can get it as a pet, and then it can also be producing food for you. There's a lot of things you can have for pets, at least in the suburbs. I think pretty much everything short of like a cow or a donkey. I think you could even keep a mini pony if it's a pet.
For your
Yeah.
ordinance.
Yeah. So you could have like a pet goat or a. The only thing about goats for milk though is you have to keep them pregnant to keep them milking. So you'd have to have a plan on what to do with all the calves or the lambs every twice a year, 3 times a year.
Mutton. Yum. No, that wouldn't
Yeah.
be mutton.
You could always just sell them, or you could.
I'm thinking lamb. But
Or if they keep their own does every year, you can just kill the old one and keep the new one.
is it Hispanics that have goat for Christmas?
I don't
Or
know.
is that just around here?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay, maybe that's a local thing in my area.
That sounds more Greek. I've never heard of goat as a Christmas thing.
Yeah, little baby goats are funny as hell to watch. They're super cute, I think.
You can make them milk without having a baby? Sounds like it'd take a lot of work, though.
I've never heard that. But you probably have to keep they have to go out and stimulate their nipples every day. Yeah, it sounds fun. Another thing that you can do. Oh, yeah, that's funny.
Goats are good for mowing your yard.
Brown chicken, brown cow.
That is funny. Another thing you can do if you don't have yard space is you can get a fish tank and you can grow tilapia. And you can do that year round too.
Yeah, when the commercial farms that grow tilapia, basically they feed tilapia the poop from their other fish.
Yeah.
But it's still good tasting.
They're easy to
It doesn't
raise,
taste like
though.
fish poop.
Yeah, they're not my thing, but I mean that's something you can do if you don't have yard space. My brother used to do that. You know, tilapia don't exist in nature at all. It's a totally manufactured fish. The ones that you eat, at least.
I didn't know that.
Am I breaking up on my end?
No, Shafty is.
Okay.
It's not that bad. Just a little bit here and there.
I've had internet problems, so.
Yeah, I've been a little bouncy signal-wise.
Goats will not only keep your grass short, they'll eat all the plants in your yard, too.
Yeah. And your fences and
Yeah.
anything that's made of fabric.
Go through your recycle, eat all the tin cans.
Well, even the freaking chickens will do that, like, because we usually let them roam, and then I only lock them up if there's going to be like a storm or it's going to rain all day, and even then, like, I'll go like set a bag outside to take it to the trash can, and in 3 seconds they're there ripping the garbage bag open.
Oh, so I was right. DJ Play Nice. It is
Yeah.
a Hispanic thing.
Baby goat is better, nice and tender.
Yeah, that's what my experience was. I haven't had it, but every year,
And
Christmas
then I guess
goat.
on the topic of like, yeah, I've never heard of that. I've heard of Christmas KFC before. That's a big thing in some places. But no, if you have a little bit of property, a couple other things that you can have just for like general preparedness, is I think if you have any yard space at all, you should have a fire pit installed. And if you've got like a tripod to heat a pot up, even better. Or like you can just get like a little griddle at Walmart that you can stake in next to it. Then if the power is out, you can still cook. And then you can also get rain catchment barrels for like $50, and you'd have those take about a month to fill up usually, at least around here they do. And then you have usually enough water to do everything you need outside, or have water to purify that you can boil to drink or to wash dishes or wash clothes. And those are really affordable. But you will some localities don't allow those, which I don't know why, but you'd have to look into that before you got them.
When we worked at
Yeah.
AOL,
Oh,
AOL's in the Middle East.
no, I probably just had dudes from the Middle East that were
Oh,
working
gotcha.
at AOL. But yeah, DJ, we did cover rabbits a little bit. I'm allergic to rabbit.
Huh.
I had it. I guess I don't remember it because I was so little, but had it. Went to the hospital and never tried it again. I may have. You can grow out of allergies, but I didn't seem like it was worth trying, just in case.
You can grow into them too. My
Yeah.
uncle became allergic to turkey at the age of 50 at Thanksgiving dinner. Throat closed up, had to call the ambulance. Now I can't have turkey.
Oh no! Yeah, you can also. That's a weird bounce. You can also keep a turkey as a pet too. So every year you could butcher a turkey, and that's like 30 pounds of meat.
Turkeys are mean.
You wouldn't feel bad about eating them then, right?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Makes it easy for you.
There are some places that have ordinances on rain collection, just because it's mostly it'll be the guys that have either holding ponds or huge cisterns, because it depletes the groundwater when they're collecting 1 million gallons at a time, which I don't know how I feel about that, because that happened in Washington State where somebody, I can't remember if it's statewide or if it was a local ordinance about the catching rainwater.
I feel like if it lands on your roof, you should be able to own it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
know.
and like in my locality, it's actually against ordinance, but I mean, I own this land. I can get a warrant. I have 2 of them. So I guess that's just if it's worth it to you. It's worth it to me. But yeah, you might have to be a little sneaky with it depending where you live.
Not a fan of turkeys building shotguns, but that's just me. Would you trust a turkey with a shotgun? What was that old movie, Carbine Williams? He's building a gun in prison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With Jimmy Stewart.
Yep.
But I figured
What else
most
can you have?
most of the people watching probably do a lot of this. Will have a garden or whatnot, but stuff. Maybe if you're not doing, it's ideas for you to you can start. If you've ever wanted to, or had maybe never thought about it, being able to grow your own stuff because you didn't think you had the room. But you were saying something, Shafty?
Yeah. Yeah, you can get what we have if you don't want to, because like if you build raised beds from scratch, it get kind of expensive. They have at Lowe's I don't know if you have Lowe's there or not, but
Yeah, we
Yeah.
do.
they have collapsible raised beds, which are just, like what like garden liner is, that fabric. They're just made of like a super thick garden liner, and you get it in just a little package, and you just roll it out and fill it up with dirt. And they're like $20. And for $20, why not try? Even if you find out you can't grow anything, at least you know that now and not when it becomes an issue.
I was hoping to find a picture of it, but they just come up with plastic sided ones.
Oh, here, let me. I wonder if I can get to Discord without dropping out of this. I can send you a couple pictures.
I knew
real
someone
quick.
that used a spare bathtub to grow stuff in, but you'd need a second bathtub.
This might kick me out. Give me 1 second. I'll send them to you. I'll DM them to you on Discord.
Speaking of which, we have a official Discord server up and running, and the link is in the description of this video. So if you want to go over there, and
why don't you post a link out in the chat too?
I will do that. But if anyone wants to come over and, I don't know, hell, we could do viewer gun picks on one of these shows. We get enough, what do you call that?
Gorn.
But I think somebody else uses that name. I could be wrong.
Everybody uses that name.
Okay. But,
well, Gorn was originally geek porn. So it was computer stuff. But
there's the link.
yeah, I like looking at guns. I'm always willing to look at guns and look at guns with other people. Oh, yeah, he kicked himself out.
But, yeah, if this is interesting to anyone, and they're living in like an apartment complex, I know this isn't the topic, but it might be a good idea to consider moving to a place where you have a yard, because this would be way easier.
It would, and I don't know, not to get too deep into it, I think there is a conscious effort to push people into cities. I know there is. It has been for 20, 30 years. Because I've heard when politicians talk about it, some of the talking points that I've heard, it becomes a tax base. And I also think that it's a little bit, they have more control because you are more dependent on the infrastructure because you're in a smaller space. So these are, ideas to help keep some of your freedom in that smaller space if you can't move to a larger space.
Another option is if you have access to a roof on this building you're living in, you might be able to do a community garden.
Yeah, there's apartments in big cities that do that, or they have community gardens in an empty lot.
Yeah. But they even encourage it in some places because it insulates the top of the buildings. I'd be worried there would be a leak.
I am back.
And you'd have a rooftop garden collapse through and squish the guy on the top floor. But
yeah, there's there's houses that are built with sod, living sod roofs. It's fed by the rain and insulates the house and stuff. and they work. As far as I know, I haven't heard a lot of problems. It is a little bit foreign to me, so I'm not as comfortable with the idea. I think it's a neat idea. I just don't know if I would want to do it. But
Yeah, and I think after that condo collapse down in Florida, I think it's more on people's minds about like, oh, should I be putting this on top of my roof? I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
Yeah.
so, looks like you got some strawberries. What else were we looking at here?
So in this corner, it's strawberries, and then those are mini fruit trees, which you can get at most like agricultural stores, and they fruit twice a year. So the left one's a lemon plant, and then the center one's a what are those things called? They're like little tiny oranges. A kumquat plant or a kumquat tree, and then the right one's a key lime tree.
Fun
And those fruit
factoid:
twice a year, and you'll get like. Go ahead.
the lemon and the kiwi are berries, and the strawberry is not a berry.
And if you get into it enough, you can get into grafting, which is really cool, where you can make a tree that will grow different kinds of fruits on one tree, and by grafting branches and stuff. And it's not that hard. You just kind of have to learn how to do it, it's a simple process. I haven't done it. I've seen it done.
And these are nice because you can they fruit in the spring and in the fall, and in the winter when it's cold, you can take them in the house and they'll fruit in the house, and then when it's warm you can just carry them back out, and they don't get huge root bases. Again,
I want
they
a
don't produce
tobacco.
a lot, but it's a little.
No, Mac. Oh. Yeah. Let me show the other pic that you sent.
One of those has the cloth raised bed in it. I just took a picture of the one side of the fence line.
And that's not it. And here's your chicken hutch.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, and you can get those at like most big hardware stores for between $100 and $200. It's just a kit that you put together. And that one's rated for, I want to say, 10 birds, and I've only got 5. So, and they don't have to leave that space. That's enough space for them. So if you don't have a whole lot of yard space, that's all that they have to have for 10 birds. And it's I want to say it's 8 foot by 3 foot are the dimension.
So, in your experience, they keep the rodent population down, right? Chickens?
No, they make it much worse because they try constantly to get into the chicken feed.
Yep.
But they will eat
totes, and they chew holes through.
They will
My
eat
cousin-
like ticks and chiggers and stuff like that.
My cousin had a chicken coop,
Yeah.
and
That's
his
like-
entire yard is just tunneled with rodents now, and they just keep eating all the seed. It's bad.
Like this one, the hanging potter peas, and then there's 3 tomato plants, and then a bunch of peppers and onions, and then green beans, and then corn, which hadn't come up yet at the time, and then zucchini, cucumbers, and then carrots and radishes are on the far end, and that's just one fence line. All 3 of them back there look like that. So I mean, we grow quite a bit, and that doesn't eat into the yard space at all. That planter bag is only like 1.5 feet, 2 feet wide. And then there's cucumbers and carrots and all the other stuff.
Yeah, and these
then
are
if you
just
wanna plant
regular
potatoes. You can plant potatoes pretty anywhere.
These are just regular flower pots, right?
Yep.
On the bottom.
Yep. Yeah, my whole system is a bunch of cheap
Yep.
planters and flower pots and garden boxes. But it's stuff that you can cobble together, and we're able to grow quite a bit of food. I could do that, but I mean, they can get into those. We have those at our hog farm, and they get into them. They can lift the lids and they'll crawl through. I lost my train of thought now. I had a thought that was there, and it's gone.
Outdoor cat. Multiple outdoor cats. But, yeah, it was like his yard looked like they were testing bombs. It was bad.
Wow.
The problem with outdoor cats. Closer to the city, I have more of a problem with outdoor cats because they shit in your yard. That was something that was really bad at the old house. It's not as bad here. We get cats come through, and it was a problem when we first moved in. Then I kind of worked to fix some of that problem. So they still pass through the front yard, but they don't crap in my backyard anymore.
They'll do worse than that. If you're gardening, they'll shit in your plants that you're going to eat.
Or, yeah, your sandbox, like my daughter's sandbox. I every night, or they go to... Yeah. I'll go get my car washed, and then the next morning I'll come out and my whole car will be covered in cat footprints.
Yeah, hogs are really smart, but hogs can be really dangerous. You have to be careful with hogs.
There have been some days I wish I was Australian. Some people will get that joke.
I didn't get it.
I must be too tired because it flew right over my head.
They have a cat problem in Australia, and they also have a solution.
Is it the same as their emu solution?
Probably. But
Vital War
yeah.
Blues.
They have entire hunting magazines where it's like, look at this 30-pound cat I caught.
Shit.
And it's like, it's like a tabby. You're like, what's wrong? There's people making cats into hats, and yeah, it's crazy. YouTube hunting cats in Australia, crazy. It's a thing.
Well, they can be super devastating if you have too many of them.
Oh yeah, they're wiping out all the ground birds in Australia.
Yeah. But I guess for preparedness, that's a lot of protein that's out and around. You just have to bring yourself to eat it if you have to.
Yep.
I've never had that, but I can't imagine it tastes good.
I wonder if cats that eat birds taste better than like a cat that's eating fish.
Well, see, there's a good idea. You could maybe if you live in an urban area, you could keep pigeons or you could keep doves. Those are very edible. People used to eat pigeon all the time.
Yep.
Especially like pre-World War II. It was one of the most common meats.
Yeah, that's
I don't know how you eat a robot,
consider.
though. I mean...
Birds aren't real.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a baby pigeon? I mean...
To answer Moo here real quick, if you've got dogs, like flower beds and stuff, use a bigger chunk type bark. The shredded stuff, they'll poop in that, but they don't like the bigger chunks. They won't dig. They might dig in it, but they'll stay out of it. And then for like the backyard, I took and I lined where they were coming over the fence. I just took I got some. Hang on just a second. I'll be right back.
I got an idea for you, Moo. You glue crush glass to the top of your fence, like you're in the Philippines.
Yeah, they're people.
So I just line the top of the fence with kind of like this, but a little wider angle iron. So when they try and climb up, they can't grab onto the top of the fence because of the metal, and that's kept them out for the most part.
I had a very similar recommendation for him. Well, you were getting that.
Oh, what was it?
Crushed glass glued to the top.
Well, that's what you do for your embassy.
Yeah.
You put crushed glass on the top of your walls. But
Yeah, and if you're short on metal, you just take framing too.
Yep.
And then if we get the stray cat in, I let the dog out. That chases them off, and that's helped. Those few things have kind of helped. It doesn't eliminate it completely because cats are assholes. I love cats. Used to have cats, but they can be assholes. Oh no, Mo.
So
there you go. 100? I want 1,000. I don't know.
yeah, see, that's more like what I thought you were going to say.
Yeah, that's he corrected it.
There you go.
In some of the BB guns, you can take a little ball of clay, and it will fire that little ball of clay, so it'll sting, but it won't penetrate. Just saying.
How's this for a strategy? You just put a cat litter box in your yard, then they'll go in that.
Put it in the neighbor's yard, and they'll go in that.
Sure.
There you go. Reverse psychology.
That'd be pretty annoying. You put it in your yard, it's still going in your tomatoes.
Screw you!
I tell you what, though, that's like that. If I've ever heard of something a cat would do, that would be it.
That's when you start planting in the cat litter box, and then you put the cat litter in the raised beds, right? You just switch it up on them.
They choose to be assholes. Yeah.
Dogs are man's best friend.
Your tomato come out tasting like Febreze.
And some counties have where they'll give you a cat trap, a live trap, not like a conifer trap, but so you can trap the cats and then take them to the pound. But
what if I just use
they do that here? They neuter them.
What if I just use a really big glue trap?
Glue traps don't work that well.
Okay.
And I've used glue traps, for mice and for rats, and I won't use them anymore. Just when they get stuck, and if you hear them shrieking, I'd rather something that does it quickly.
Oh, and in case there's someone in the YouTube that's about to type a comment, we're joking. This is a joke. We're not advocating killing cats. We don't need that comment. Unsub. I can't believe you wanted to kill cats with an air rifle. Yeah.
Larger rats can get out of a glue trap.
Even little mice can if they're persistent. I had a couple escape them.
Yeah, there was a problem with people using glue traps. They tie strings to them and then throw them in mailboxes to pull out mail. They go mail fishing.
So I guess speaking of cats and glue traps, I actually have a story along those lines. So this one time I was it was the evening, and we had just put the kids to bed, or the kid at that point, because we didn't have the other one yet. And I just hear this boom, 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 and then this giant falling and crashing noise in my kitchen, and then I just see my cat come screaming out through the living room with a glue trap on her tail, and she was running off the walls and knocking shit over because she couldn't get it off of her. What had happened is we used to the house we lived in before we bought this one was built in 1900. So at the time it was 117 years old. So obviously we had rodents, and like they would be in like the laundry room. So I put the glue traps behind the washer and dryer, and she had gotten back there. That's where she got stuck, and she knocked all the soap bottles off the shelf, knocked every basket over. It was freaking hilarious, but I couldn't even catch her to get it off of her.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's pretty funny when they go into that Tasmanian devil spin attack.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully,
by the time I finally caught her, yeah.
Hopefully we've covered some ideas that might be helpful to people. Something maybe you didn't think about. If you're watching this in replay, and you have some good ideas, or you have any ideas, go and post a comment. Could be helpful to somebody else. You can keep the conversation going even after the chat's done.
And if you're mean enough to us, we'll respond.
I try and respond to all comments, good or bad. I appreciate the comments. And Baron dropped another link to the Discord. It's a place to hang out, chit chat with other people.
I can inform you all the vegetables you thought were vegetables are actually fruits, and they're considered berries. Got a whole list going.
So you can go check out the berry list. It's berry fun.
Pickled berries are very good on a hamburger.
But appreciate everybody that came to hang out. Also in the description, there's links so you can leave comment for both the ATF. They're changing the definition of a receiver. If you have not done that yet, it's a link so you can go leave a comment, or a comment for the pistol braces. So you can go comment on the pistol braces. It's your rights. Stand up for your rights. And it doesn't take that long, and you don't have to say much. Just say that you oppose it. And thanks, everybody, for joining.
You still here? It's over. Go home.